Hey guys, so today we are going to talk about ambiguity or something of that nature. No, let's actually call this one, do you actually have a full team or are you just treating everybody as being the same? So let's get into it. Now, to give you a little bit of context on this one, I'll have to talk about work, and that's fun. Talking about work is nice. Gives us actually a lot of these videos are just thanks to that I'm actually going to work every day. Anywho, so when you start working as a software developer, most likely you are going to find yourself in a software team of some sort. Not necessarily, but it is fairly common that you have a team of some sort. And if you are the sort of person who works in a product company of some sort or something of that nature, odds are that you are going to have between 2 to 8 usually team members on staff. And the way that is, it's fairly popular to structure a software development team in this way, and I think that this makes a lot of sense. You have a core set of requirements for each developer. In other words, each developer needs to be able to produce software. Makes sense, right? You need to be able to code. But then you have these, you try to, if you're smart as a manager, and you should be smart as a manager, you try to structure the team so that you have complementary skill sets for each individual. In other words, you usually have somebody who's fairly good at operations, you usually have somebody who's good at front end, someone who's, and a few more people who are good at back end development. That sort of mentality. You try to create a well-rounded, well-structured team. Makes sense, right? Now, you start working, things starts moving, you start scheduling jobs, and people basically get into it, right? And then you have what I call double booking or bottleneck people. And this happens very naturally, and I think that this is where things go a bit wrong. And that is that when you're scheduling and planning things, because this trend exists in the IT community, especially at the management level, that everybody should be able to do everything. Everybody should take, I've been talking about DevOps, and this culture about DevOps and so forth is very oriented around this, that you run, you build it, you own it, it's your responsibility. Yeah, that's great, awesome. I don't have any problems with that, but what I do have a problem with is that you don't understand that your team is made up of people. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean that one of the most scary things that can happen is when your manager doesn't realize that different people are good at different things. And when you treat every single developer on your team as just another developer, you are kind of contradicting the whole goal of having a diverse team of people who are extra good at something. It's actually happened just to me. It's been an issue it is an issue today actually when I'm working. We have these upcoming stories basically, and this is the thing that usually happens when you do this sort of thing, where you, as I said, you treat every developer as equal at the planning stage of things. You don't consider the specialities or that each person is actually an individual, even though they're part of a team. And what's happened is that we have an upcoming time period with a lot of stories or work basically that is very geared towards one particular individual in our team. In other words, it's really a workload that should be distributed on 4 people, but it's only one person who actually has the skill set to fix it. That's a big problem. That's what I call a bottleneck or double booking or whatever. Because when you are planning out workloads and you are trying to structure your company, if you treat every developer as just another developer, you are kidding yourself. Because As I said, each person has things that they are better at, worse at, and although you can sit there and say that, hey, everybody should be equally good at everything and you should take responsibility for everything, that's not what naturally happens. That's something that's going to cost you as a company. And if you don't invest in this, then I don't want to sit in that meeting with you and hear you complain. Because that's what I hear. I hear it a lot, where people usually tell me that they keep on saying that, oh, we should know everything and everybody should be involved in everything. And then I say, all right, cool. Then you have to educate us. Because I have some things that I'm really good at that I can teach others, and then I have some things that I need help with. And then usually what your manager is going to say, oh, well, but that's going to take extra time, and we don't really have time for that because we need to ship stuff. So it's better if you focus on that thing, because we kind of hired you so that you're good at that thing, so that you can kind of complement everybody else. And I say, yeah, great. Don't worry about it. And then we get to this point where they have booked solid one single individual, and there's really nothing that you can do about it. And what's even better is when something unforeseen happens in a critical moment, when you have a deadline that you need to meet, and something that's even more priority, or even worse, the person gets sick or something, and then everything your entire little nice backlog of plans and all that good stuff that you as a PO or you as a manager you've spent so much time filling out all that information, which is great. And now everything just fell to shit. And it did so because you are by yourself deciding when you want to hear that, or rather you are selectively deciding when you want to view your developers as individuals and when they should just be another developer. You can't have both. If you truly want everybody to be as productive as everybody else on the team, you need to invest as a company, and that is costly. The other way to solve it is, as you may suspect, is to foresee these sort of issues when you are at the planning stage. And that unfortunately requires a little bit of more work on your part, because now you need to start thinking about the individuals in the team, and you can no longer fit this. Because guys, for those of you who are not aware of this, or rather, I'm not going to say to be aware of it, I'll say that this is a big guess of mine, but I have seen enough of the world to kind of feel that this is how it works. Most of the world's problems when it comes to management and so forth comes from management's need to generalize and profile things. Because the unfortunate situation is that if you have to account for each person as being an individual, it's very tricky to create a generalized solution that fits your problem. And that's what we do. Real world problems such as this are more complicated than what can be expressed in a spreadsheet or in a PowerPoint presentation. So you have to create these generalized solutions. And then you're basically in a situation where your little generalized solution doesn't account for the fact that real world problems are not as simple as something as you can fit on a PowerPoint presentation. And this is the sort of issue that you will see. You will see that people will, as I said, when you're in one context, they're going to look at things from one perspective, and in another context, they're going to look at things from another perspective. So basically what I'm trying to tell you here is that as a company, if you are part of a company and you see that there are these bottleneck people there, try to push the idea that they need to spread that knowledge. Odds are that, well, hopefully people will listen to you. If they don't listen to you, there's not much you can do about that, and you'll simply have to sit there and say that this is what I told you. And what's going to happen next is most likely that what's likely to happen is that you're going to be tasked with solving the issue, and then you'll say, yeah, I'll do my best. And this is the critical part. This is the part that might be a little tough for the people who are a little bit unsure about themselves, or if you're a little bit junior here. If you, because your manager did not listen to you, did not account for that you are an individual with specialities, think of it as the medical profession. Different doctors are good at different things, which means that if the head of medicine forces a surgeon to do somebody else's, the work of a chiropractor or whatever, if you are shuffling people around, that's a management issue. It's not your fault. If you feel uncertain and you feel uncomfortable, don't go inwards here. Don't blame yourself. Blame management if you have to blame somebody. Ideally, you should never blame somebody. You should just fess up and tell them the truth. And it's happened to me a few times. I'm in that situation right now where I'm not a specialist in every single thing, as you may suspect, but I can do most things that I need to be able to do, and that's the trademark of a developer. You should be, even if you're not the best at something, you usually have the aptitude to kind of figure things out and still make it work. And when your manager puts you in that situation, when the manager has realized that, oh shit, we have a deadline coming up and we don't have enough people because I have assumed that every single person is equally good at everything, and there's really only one person who can do all of this, then they're going to panic for the most part. And they're going to try to figure out either how they can cut features, or they're going to try to allocate work on people who are not actually equipped to solving this problem. When that happens, do the best you can and just deal with the situation, and try to remind them that, remember, yes, I know how to code, but that doesn't mean that you get to make the assumption that I know everything about software, because that's the world you live in, unfortunately. It's a very tough situation for us developers, because we live in the sort of world where people without technical understanding, they really, some of them actually think that it's just all the same thing. If you know how to program, you know everything. That's not how it works. And we need, as developers, to stand up and say, it is okay for me to fucking not be the master of every single thing in programming. It has to be okay, because there's so much to know, and it's unreasonable to treat us developers as these gods of engineering who know everything and should know everything, and if you don't know everything, you should feel bad about it. And I say no, fuck that. No one else is expected to know absolutely everything, so why should we be expected to know absolutely everything? Guys, it is okay to not know absolutely everything about software. Have a great day.